Gosh, it's just hectic.
What a transition. Welcome,
happens,
everyone.
That's what happens when we when you just wake up in the middle of the night.
What's Gucci, people? All righty. Y'all know what time it is.
Mhm.
What's the date today? It is
October
probably when you're
4th.
listening to this, it will be Monday,
Mm-hmm.
October 4th.
Correct.
And we just finished watching Sunday Night Football here. Wow. What a underwhelming game.
I guess I was playing against Tom Brady, and I needed him not to score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened. And I'm currently losing by 3 points, but the fun fact is that I actually have the Chargers defense. So I hope and I pray that they can at least get me more than 3 points. If it's one of these weeks that they just get negative points on defense. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was just from an outsider's perspective, because I really didn't have any fantasy ties. I lost 8 out of 9 leagues this week. It's a bad week. It was so boring to watch.
Right.
Just lots of rain, lots of rushing, 3 to 4 yard rushes with Leonard Fournette, not utilizing your weapons. It was a very boring game to watch.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I know that there's a couple people who are with us live right now in the chat. If you don't know and you're listening on the podcast, we stream this podcast live on YouTube, and then we answer some questions from everyone in the chat at the end of this podcast. So if you ever want to watch this podcast live, join us on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasylandfootball. But y'all know what this is all about. We're going to talk about the cash and the trash from today. Let's start with the quarterback position. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, it's no surprise that he's on top of the board this week. But also, we got Sam Darnold, Matt Ryan, Jalen Hurts, Taylor Heineke, and Dak Prescott, all kind of up there on that top tier. Who surprises you the most this week from the quarterback position?
I think there's no surprise that Patrick Mahomes, or I guess Patrick Mahomes will finish first. But I think for me is Matt Ryan. Throwing 4 touchdowns, 283 yards.
Yeah,
he played decent. And at least I'm assuming, according to his stats, that's a game I need to go back and rewatch.
He played well. I mean, I watched that. Obviously, I'm a Washington fan. He played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It was frustrating as a Washington fan because our defense isn't good. Like, all this talk about our defense being good, that's just not the case. It's not a good defense, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
Maybe there's some things that we need to change. Mentality, scheme, I don't know what it is, but right now, if your fantasy assets are facing Washington, it feels like a good thing, not a bad thing. Sam Darnold up there, 2 interceptions, but did rush for 2 touchdowns as well as throw 2 to DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts had a good game against Kansas City. I want to shout out to Taylor Heineke. Good game.
Okay.
This guy just balls. I mean, he's nothing special. He's nothing sexy, but he just goes out there and gives our team a chance to win.
Yeah.
290 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 40 rushing yards as well. That's a nice little upside there on the ground.
I believe there's absolute hope. You know, you're 2-2 currently. Taylor Heineke has the opportunity to win games. When I watch him, if I was a Washington fan, I'm excited every time he's on the field. I'm like, okay, he can make a play.
Yeah.
You know, so I like Taylor Heineke. It's great. Look, actually, all the NFC East quarterbacks, top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Dak finished, wow. I think, as a quarterback 6.
And then
Daniel Jones
right
7.
behind him. That's so funny.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts and Taylor Heineke. When I look at that division, I still think the Cowboys are going to run away with it.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else has a chance.
I agree.
Jalen Hurts has looked good, and absolutely he should be a starter in redraft leagues in Dynasty, you know, if you're a win-now team. There is a harder schedule coming up for him, so just be aware. But those are the guys. You look, Matt Ryan is not someone who's going to put this up every week. He's still a streaming quarterback. I don't think you can start him regardless of matchup. I would say the same for Sam Darnold. The same for probably Taylor Heineke and Daniel Jones. Those are still streaming options based on matchup. They're not smash starts, right?
I like, though, for me, out of all those guys we talked about, someone that's a smash start, I think it's Sam Darnold. I'm happy to start him week in and week out. It's clear that this offense is explosive. They can score, you know, every single week. Sam Darnold has thrown nearly for almost 300+ yards. So, I mean,
I'm still skeptical, but I get it. I just don't think I can smash start Sam Darnold. It definitely depends on the team. I mean, if he plays Tampa Bay, I'm not smash starting that. It still depends on
I think he can,
matchups for me.
It's interesting. Like I'm definitely going to be watching out, but his schedule ahead, I guess Philly has a quote unquote decent defense. They didn't play great against KC, but like, you know, they stopped the 49ers a lot and all those other teams that they played before them. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he continues.
Yeah, agreed. I just want to quickly highlight Trey Lance. Came in the game after halftime, played the rest of the half, and scored over 20 points in fantasy. Was very good on the ground. Was on and off in the air. I mean, he needs to learn how to throw a touch pass. It's just all bullets. Once he figures that out, he will look pretty decent. But let's just continue into with quarterbacks and talk about the trash quarterbacks of the week.
Yeah.
And I think Big Ben is probably on the top of the list there. Definitely underperformed, under 10 points, unless you are in a 6-point touchdown league. Excuse me. 26 for 40, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It just doesn't look good. It just looks really bad at this point. And
it does look terrible.
It worries me for every fantasy option in Pittsburgh, honestly.
Big Ben is someone coming into this year I liked a lot. Not purely, because of the opportunity he was going to be able to throw. He's throwing. He's throwing 40 times, but he keeps missing. He had Juju in a couple times not wide open, but in stride, where he could, if he placed the ball in the right spot, you know, that could be a touchdown or a gain for massive yards, and it could have changed the game around. Yeah. But yeah, Big Ben. I think Kirk Cousins was also let down. 10 points.
I was gonna say, bro. I mean, this is what I said last week. Hey, he's gonna face some better defenses. I know he's been good, but be careful of trading a lot for him. I saw a lot of trades go through for Kirk Cousins this week.
Yeah,
it's just saying.
And you know, when you look at quarterbacks, it's not that many massive. I guess you can say Tom Brady. He finished.
Tom Brady was a letdown for
with
sure.
11 points, but everyone else kind of played, you know, to their means. You know, Matthew Stafford 19 points, Lamar 19 points, Josh Allen 20. You know, Joe Burrow with the 20 plus, Kyler Murray 20 plus. They played decent. If you got 20 points, you're happy with it. You weren't. You're probably hoping for a crazy, you know, touchdown game like maybe not for Kyler Murray because he played the Rams, but someone like a Josh Allen, you were hoping he can finish QB1 against Houston, which just didn't happen this week.
It did not happen this week. All right, let's talk about running backs. This week, the third highest scorer in all of fantasy football is one Cordell Patterson.
That's crazy.
You know what's funny? Someone said this in a group chat, and it's so true. Cordell Patterson is taking all the fantasy value we saw in Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, and Mike Davis combined. He's just taking all those points and making one super human fantasy player. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this is a guy, if you picked up on waivers, he was on our waivers for a couple weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you were able to pick him up because he looks like a smash start in flex. Look, you're not going to get this performance every week, but a 10-point floor seems pretty realistic every week going forward for Darrell Patterson.
That's what I was going to say. There's only one game he scored under 15 points, and that was week 1 against Philly.
Yeah.
23 points, 16 points, and 34 points is absolutely fantastic for Cordell Patterson if you picked him up off the waiver wires. This is a guy that I didn't put any fab towards if you're playing a fab or put a waiver claim, just because I didn't expect this to continue. I really didn't. And if you actually have him now, you're buzzing. He's playing the Jets next week. I mean, it feels like you have to start him in a flex position.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
He's always been this X factor guy, but now you want to start this guy legit. Like, you don't want to leave him on your bench.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still not fully convinced that this is going to be this way all year. I love what I'm seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope this trend continues. However, I'm not opposed to selling him high either. If you can trade Patterson away, I'm not opposed to, I don't know, getting someone like Kareem Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would be okay with that. Joe Mixon, a Chubb. These names might seem unrealistic, but I promise you, right now, people are freaking out about running backs. So
yeah, I think a guy I would be trading away or trading for Cordell Patterson is Darrell Henderson. That seems more like on the side that feels a little bit more even. He's on the better offense.
Right.
He looked really great on the ground today. I think I'd rather have him than a Cordell Patterson, but the ceiling with Cordell Patterson in playing in the rushing and the passing, that upside,
it's pretty high.
It's crazy.
I think I would still prefer Cordell, to be honest, in a PPR format, which is crazy to say. That's just so stupid. I'm saying that out loud. Say, great
Come on,
week.
baby.
Another really good week, especially through the air. 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. He was very efficient. He looks great. I think the injury, he's finally fully recovered from it. You can absolutely start him going forward. Derrick Henry, I don't know that he looked amazing, but he got 33 carries. So, he looked like Derrick Henry.
He did look like Derrick Henry.
It's a lot of volume.
At first, it was disappointing. It was like, whoa, are the Jets really going to be stopping Henry?
At first the Jets looked like they were
like, we're going to give him any points. Henry. Yeah, I was like, okay, well, be careful now.
By the way, that game in general, wow. I'm actually so glad that the Jets won that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just felt right to see that.
He had a good drive coming in, but had some good balls. I guess when he had time.
Well, first half, Zach Wilson looked terrible. Second half, Zach Wilson looked amazing. Mm-hmm. So you can see there is progression.
Yes.
It's too early to be judging any of these rookie quarterbacks just yet. David Montgomery had a great game. They fed him. Unfortunately, it does sound like there is an MRI sprain.
Yeah.
Think about Nick Chubb last year. He had an MRI sprain that took 4 to 5 weeks, I believe, to recover from. I expect a similar timeline, maybe 3 to 6 weeks. We'll find out. We need to find more information.
Yeah.
We'll update you on, the YouTube channel and our podcast this week. Najee Harris looked good. Still has the upside through the air. A little bit of a surprise, I would say, is Kenneth Gainwell all the way up there. I think it was the RB6 on the week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep.
Yeah. I think it was just purely because they were playing from behind the whole time. They weren't going to run the ball. And I think this was the expectation. If you listen to the podcast, I expected it to be the Chiefs to come in and really score a lot of points. And 3 carries for 31 yards, but 6 receptions for 58 yards. But he also found the end zone, which was good for Kenneth Gainwell.
He was sitting on my bench, and starting was Myles Gaskin.
That's frustrating.
It's a little bit too early to talk about Myles Gaskin, but it's a great segue. So why don't we just go ahead and talk about trash performances for the running back position? We can kind of jump around here a little bit, but he was by far, I believe, the most disappointing play of the week. I don't know that there was a more disappointing play than Myles Gaskin this week. 2 carries for 3 yards. That's it.
Yeah.
That was it. 2 carries, 3 yards.
I need to rewatch this game.
Here's players that you would have gotten more points if you started them. Kansas City's fullback, Michael Burton. Khalil Herbert. Le'Veon Bell. 3rd string, Amir Abdullah from Minnesota. It's just all pain right now. It's all pain if you own Myles Gaskin like me.
It's not the best start or the best continuation for Myles Gaskin here.
I've been doing a little research. I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but I'd like to share what I've heard.
Okay.
So I've been digging through Twitter, so it's as reliable as it can be. But from what I've heard, they've been upset that he's not able to pass block as well as Malcolm Brown can. So
Malcolm Brown is freaking double the size. Of course he's going to be able to pass block.
Yeah, I know. And it doesn't make sense because Myles Gaskin, of course, he's not going to be an amazing pass blocker.
I guess there's no excuses.
It's so frustrating to me because it's not as if there's not a better. He is the best talent in this backfield, but you gave him 2 opportunities. The offense looked terrible. Before this game, only Nick Chubb had more rushes for 15 yards or more. Only Nick Chubb. And now it looks like Gaskin is just completely out of the game plan. Don't drop him, but you don't start him anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe the hope is when Tua comes back, there's more value for Gaskin. But geez, man, it's
definitely frustrating.
It's so sad if you own him. I got him in the 6th round, and I thought it was a steal, and it just looks terrible.
Yeah, I feel for you. I have Myles Gaskin in some of my other leagues, but to continue with these upsets, obviously Miles Sanders underperformed. I think that was the expectation with him coming in.
Yeah, looked like a good week, but unfortunately Kenneth Gainwell got all the passing work.
Yeah. Just to name a few, Chuba Hubbard only with 9 points, but I guess that's decent for Chuba Hubbard. Someone like a Nick Chubb getting 11 points, disappointing. Alvin Kamara, 12 points, disappointing. Guys like that, it just feels like, How
about Dalvin Cook? That feels like, outside of Myles Gaskin, maybe the biggest disappointment.
It's definitely disappointing. I think there was also hesitation with Cook coming in. They definitely
because of the injury.
Yeah. They put him on a rep count, I believe. He didn't play.
Well, he definitely didn't get his full workload. 9 carries, 34 yards.
He didn't play, I think, almost the whole 3rd quarter, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something that's a little bit disappointing. But
are you worried about Cook, Carson? I'm gonna list a name of guys I'm not worried about, and I want to know if you are. Okay, who underperformed? Carson, Cook, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. All these guys slightly underperformed. Are you worried about any of those guys?
No, I'm not worried about those guys.
Okay. Because I think that's what people's questions would be.
I think the guy that I am worried about that you probably drafted with your 3rd or 4th pick is Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Huge inconsistencies. Definitely. He was not targeted once today against the Giants. Obviously, I'll watch that game. I'm a Giants fan. I mean, we were stopping him.
Offense is just bad, too. That offense is just bad.
Yeah, we were stopping him, and they could have used him. He's so explosive. You can't take the guy down. Continue to feed the ball to Alvin Kamara. They're just not doing that. They're not doing it whatsoever.
Nope, unfortunately not. A couple of things we should quickly highlight from the running back position. James Robinson had a great game. Connor keeps getting into the end zone. Jonathan Taylor looked very, very good. This feels like the start of something special for him.
Yeah, once again, he has a good slate of games coming through. But for James Conner, 18 touches, 6 more touches more than Chase Edmonds. Obviously, he found the end zone, so he finished a little bit higher.
I think that had anything to do with the game script.
I think so. But Chase Edmonds was just more efficient on the ground. 12 touches, 120 yards. He looked great. He was very explosive. This is a guy that I liked. I thought it was a good start playing Chase Edmonds this week. It was so surprising that James Conner got more touches in this game.
Yeah. Again, guys, if you're listening on YouTube right now, we're recording a podcast. We have a podcast available on all platforms. We will answer the questions in the chat. We'll just do that at the end here. And we'll also keep these questions on the podcast so people can listen. I'm sure that would be good. Let's move on to the wide receiver room. Tyreek Hill.
Oh, my goodness.
One of those games where if you play Tyreek Hill, just fat GGs, you lost.
GGs
it's unlucky.
100%. I mean, absolutely. I'm glad I didn't play him. I did not play against him in any league, which I'm lucky.
Nice. I did play him against him in a couple leagues.
Right.
I also played against Debo Samuel in multiple money leagues. So Debo Samuel, if you faced him this week, in the third quarter, I think he had like 7 points. And then out of nowhere, it felt like in a flash, he's like the wide receiver 2 on the week. And it was so sad from a guy facing him. But if you have him, he looks great. I mean, he's obviously the guy that both Jimmy and Trey trust. When Trey was in there, it was all Debo. We both said that. We're like, he's only looking at Debo right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, especially if you're a Brandon Ayuk owner, which we'll talk about soon. But yeah, Debo is the guy. 8 for 156 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, on 12 targets as well. One of those was a busted play, but still, it still happened. DJ Moore looked very good. Mm-hmm. He's continuing his breakout year legitimately. He has broken out.
Absolutely.
12 targets, 8 receptions, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Terry looked great. Deontay looked good again off the injury. Guys I want to talk about quickly is Corey Davis. We had a lot of people ask us questions about Corey Davis. 4 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. So that might sound worrisome.
Yeah.
Because only 4 catches, right? But he had 7 targets, and it's clear that he is the favorite target of Zach Wilson. And I think Zach Wilson's going to continue to improve. So I personally think you can start Corey Davis based off matchups, going forward. This was a matchup I told people to start him in.
Yeah, and I agree. Going forward, one thing I said, I think it was on the live stream, Jamison Crowder really helps out Zach Wilson. He is a veteran that you need on the field that says, you know what, guys, we can push through. We're doing this. We're playing great football. He made great plays. He converted in a lot of third downs. Shout out to Jamison Crowder, 7 for 61 and a touchdown, 19 points. This could be a good, nice little stash if he's available. It's not something that I'm excited for, but could be something coming soon.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you have Jamison Crowder, you stashed him, well done. But he'll probably be on the waiver wire. I mean, you can't ignore 9 targets.
No way.
You can't ignore that for sure. Randall Cobb looked good. Don't go pick him up off the waiver wires is my advice. I know he looked good. I just personally, I'm not going to be picking him up. I'm not sure that that's something that continues. Same with Van Jefferson. We already talked about Tyler Boyd from Thursday Night Football, but there's a lot of names that we could go through, but let's talk about some people that might have potentially disappointed you. DeAndre Hopkins is one that comes to mind. Didn't kill your week, but definitely didn't have the matchup winning upside that maybe a lot of people thought he would have.
Yeah, he definitely kind of let a lot of people down. Another guy that let, off the top of my head, I can think of was Allen Robinson. I think he was only targeted 3 times.
There's a lot of questions about A-Rob as well.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Chris Godwin, he was only targeted 5 times. He was 3 for 55, less than 10 points.
Well, let's talk about those 2 situations because I think those 2 situations are very different. And I'm sure when people are listening, they want to know. Maybe people haven't watched all these games. I watched both of these games in full.
Right.
The issue with Allen Robinson is the entire game plan was, hey, let's not put too much on Justin Fields' shoulder. Let's run the ball with David Montgomery. I mean, it was frustrating if you wanted to see Justin Fields shine because every time they were in the red zone, it was Monty. And that was frustrating. But
that was a huge point.
I don't know if that continues. I'm more worried about Robinson than I am Godwin because I think Godwin's performance was purely because of the rain, the weather.
Yeah,
a lot of players were not catching balls, and it felt like they just wanted to run the ball with Leonard Fournette, and just that's how they wanted to game manage that win versus the Patriots. So I'm not worried about Godwin, but I am worried about Robinson.
Robinson, once again, think about it though. Lions gave up a lot of points to running backs, so the game script was also maybe just to come in kind of like what Aaron Jones did to the Lions. So why not feed the ball to Monty in that scenario? But at the same time, he did terrible against Cleveland. Week 1, obviously, he played the Rams, and he really only had one double-digit game, which was week 2 against Cincinnati, and he was only targeted 4 times. He was 2 for 24, but the only reason why he got double digits was because he found the end zone. So there's definitely concerns. not because of. I don't really think it's the quarterback play. I just don't believe that they want to utilize him like that.
I don't know anymore. With Allen Robinson. I have to be honest with you. I'm definitely exploring trade options for him.
Mm-hmm.
I am worried that we could be giving up on him too early.
Okay.
I think once this quarterback situation is really figured out in the next 3 or 4 weeks, he could retain a lot of value. You just have to figure out, can I be patient enough to wait on him and see what that would look like? But it's definitely worrisome. I 100% agree there. Adam Thielen did not have a great game. The Cleveland defense is legit. I think that's the answer to that question. What about Tyler Lockett? What happened with Lockett? Because it was the injury a big issue, or did San Francisco just play really good defense?
I think it was a little bit of both. I don't think he was necessarily looking at Tyler as much. Only 5 targets in this game. I think it was a combination of both, and also the injury, obviously. Yeah. So, yeah, he was a little bit of a letdown, in my opinion. Obviously, Marvin Jones from Thursday night. OBJ was also a letdown if you started him.
Can I just jump in real quick? Because I just want to say something that because I watched the Washington game. All the way through. And Curtis Samuel was on a snap count. He only played about 30 snaps. But when he was in, oh my God, I loved the role that they were using him in.
What was it?
Go buy Curtis Samuel on the low right now if you can. It was pretty much the same role that Carolina used for him last year. Not the year before, but the role that he had last year, where it was screen passes, the quick in and outs in the backfield. I mean, Curtis Samuel, once he gets off this snap count, could be a guy that you could flex weekly.
Well, that worries me.
Logan Thomas just went down. I don't know what that looks like, but I mean, I'm excited that I have him on one of my teams, but I might go try and get him in another league because I really think once that snap count comes, I mean, on only 30 snaps, my guy got 4 targets, 4 receptions. So, I mean, it's definitely something I just wanted to highlight for people. Like, hey, if you're looking for a buy low candidate, because a lot of people wouldn't have watched that game, Curtis Samuel could be a guy that you should go buy. Don't forget they just spent like $30 million on him in free agency. So I just wanted to jump in there quickly and have that little nugget of wisdom.
Just to give you somebody else another nugget of wisdom. For me, is once again Antonio Gibson. Is he going to affect Gibson's backfield work then? Those screen passes, because Gibson is a pass catching back. He was a wide receiver in college. They're not necessarily. It doesn't feel like they're necessarily using him that way. Yeah, I'm still skeptical on Gibson because I still don't believe the workload was there. Now with Curtis Samuel, what you're saying, I need to rewatch it to see what you're saying. That really puts me on edge with Gibson.
I'm still not worried about Gibson. I still believe in him. I'd still be happy to have him as my running back too, but I understand people's concerns.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind, this is one of the worst defenses. I can't believe I'm saying that. We're one of the worst defenses in the league. We're going to have to score a lot of points, So there's enough to go around. And Heineke looks more than capable. What happened to Sidney Lam?
Yeah.
What happened to Sidney?
And once again, I just don't think it didn't feel like he was part of the game plan. The first half,
no,
this is a game that I was watching.
This is 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, this is a game that I was watching, and it didn't feel like they targeted him early in the first half. He got a couple targets, I think. One target early, and then the next time you saw him get targeted was probably like late end of the second, it felt like. So, Sidney Lamb let a lot of people down. You drafted him really high. Just to name off a couple other guys, Juju was a letdown if you started him. And Brandon Ayuk was a letdown if you started him. Those are the 2 other guys.
Christian Kirk. A lot of people would have flexed Kirk, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
Even Cortland Sutton didn't do much. I mean, there was a lot of letdowns. I'm not sold on Sutton, unfortunately, at this time.
I think it's also hard because Teddy's in concussion protocol now. How long is that going to take? Is this going to be a lingering concussion protocol? You don't want Drew Lock there, throwing the ball to him at all. It's just not something that you want.
The offense didn't look amazing all day, but it definitely didn't look better once Lock came in there. And as far as Steelers, I don't think I want a Steeler wide receiver on my team after looking at what Big Ben looks like. I don't even think I want Deontay. I'm just being honest. Like, I think I would be selling Deontay off of this week and trying to pick up someone like Lockett who had a bad off week. Do you see that the same way, or are you still comfy with Deontay?
I'm comfy with Deontay purely because it feels like all they want to do is throw the ball. And Deontay,
right?
If I'm not mistaken, let me just double check. How many times was Deontay actually targeted? Because I think
he was targeted quite a few times.
13 times. He was 9 for 13 targets, 92 yards, and he got a touchdown. Yeah, I'm still happy with Deontay. If there was the one person, if you go back to our YouTube videos, the Juju, Claypool, and Deontay was the only guy I was comfortable having in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, he looked good. AJ Green, 5 catches, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. This is going to be super inconsistent, guys. I wouldn't personally be. Let's talk about Robert Woods. I did see a couple comments of Robert Woods in the chat. 4 receptions on 6 targets, 48 yards, and a touchdown. This is probably his ceiling weekly, guys. Yeah. I know that sounds crazy. Like, his ceiling is obviously higher, but this is probably, like, if he has a good game, this is what you expect from him now. It's not the 100-yard performances and the multiple touchdowns, you know.
This was a last-minute touchdown as well.
Or the 10 targets per game.
Yeah, it was a last-minute touchdown. So maybe you can sell Woods.
Yeah, I would be open to selling Woods. What about Kupp? Because Kupp was obviously a letdown as well. No touchdown, under 70 yards, but still had 13 targets.
Yeah,
so
still had.
Don't worry about
targets. The targets are still there, so I think that's what it was. This Cardinals defense is pretty good.
All right, let's move on to the tight end position. Tight end 1 on the week is CJ Who's Your Mama?
Who's your mama?
Which is hilarious.
You love to see
Dawson
it.
Knox.
Hey.
Tight end 2. Do we want to quickly talk about CJ? I'm not picking him up on waivers, but I don't know if you are.
I think it's an interesting. If you're someone that has Logan Thomas and maybe you don't have another tight end,
right?
Pick up CJ, see what happens. Are you starting him? Probably, because you probably have to. You're not excited about it.
Yeah.
Just see what happens. Same thing with Max Williams. This is, I'm pretty sure, his second game. Obviously, the game last week, he didn't have as many targets, but in a rough time when, they're playing a good defense, Max Williams could be a good stream option depending on the matchup.
Man, I hope you picked up Dawson Knox if you needed a tight end last week. We made a YouTube video about that. All of our waivers are on YouTube. They live on YouTube. And I said this is my favorite pickup of the week. Mm-hmm. I hope you got him.
I got him. Got him in a couple leagues. I was pretty pumped about it, and it
feels like disappointment's coming now that I say that I love him.
And that's what I felt like disappointment was coming this week, but it proved me wrong because at the same time they played Houston, but at the same time they played Washington last week, which we thought that was good defense. It's still talent. There's still talent on the defense though. Like, you can't knock it. Like, there's still a good defense on paper, but like they just not doing what they did last year.
No, I get it. Alley Cox was a tight end 3. Mm-hmm. Again, not a guy I'm gonna be picking up. I mean, 3 catches, 2 of them were for a touchdown. I'm personally not gonna be looking to pick him up. Dalton Schultz is someone I could consider.
100%. This is a guy that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
6 receptions, 8 targets, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it was identical to last week.
It's gonna be inconsistent, but it was pretty good.
It was nearly identical from last week. They just needed he just needed that other touchdown. He had 20-ish less more yards. I think this is a good opportunity to pick up Dalton Schultz. If you are, once again, a Logan Thomas owner and you don't know what's going to happen with him, why not go get him? This is a high-powered offense. You know, high-scoring offense. And the NFC East, they don't have an easy schedule.
No, they don't, man. The NFC East schedule is tough. It's actually, I think, the toughest in the league, the NFC.
They actually
East.
played the
That's
Giants.
The schedule they got handed.
Oh, no. The Giants play the Cowboys next week.
Yep. Good luck.
It's going to be tough.
Well, I mean, that's just individual. But, I mean, we're playing the NFC West. Sorry, the AFC West.
AFC West.
And the NFC South, which is 2 very good divisions. It is what it is. You just got to play the card you're dealt.
Mm-hmm.
Any other tight ends we want to talk about here that had good performances? Mike Gesicki feels like a guy that you can start, but let's not forget that the quarterback will change.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one else here that I'm super excited about. There's people I'm disappointed in. Can we move on to that?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I think that's where I would rather go. I guess let's just highlight people. Let's just highlight people that actually did good. Noah Fant, that did decent for you. Noah Fant,
Okay.
Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews had over 10 points. Jonnu Smith had over 10 points. These guys had over 10 points and probably did decent. Kyle Pitts, 9 points. I guess that's decent for Kyle Pitts.
I was going to say, watching that game, I want Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
If someone is doubting him, if someone is not sure of him, I have Darren Waller and I have no good wide receiver too. So I might actually try and talk to the Kyle Pitts owner and see if I can upgrade. I'm not going to do that unless I get a top 10 wide receiver, but still, that's something that I might consider. 9 targets. They were trying to look towards him often. I really think there's a breakout coming for Kyle Pitts. I really think we're very close to. There's going to be a week where we're like, wow, Kyle Pitts had 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards. And I don't think it should be surprising when that happens.
I don't think it is surprising. I just think it's frustrating that it didn't happen already. He had 2 great opportunities to do it against the Giants, against Washington. I guess technically against Tampa Bay because they do give up a lot of points to the opposing team.
Yeah.
So I guess what's not surprising. Okay, that's what's surprising. That now when you look back at it, why didn't he perform? Because people like Jacoby Myers are getting 12 plus points. Obviously, it's a different position against a Tampa Bay.
I think like you got to give him a couple weeks. Everyone before the season was saying
it's been 4 weeks.
Yeah. Everyone before the season was saying, no, I'm not going to draft Kyle Pitts. He's a rookie tight end. Okay. So why is the narrative not, let's give him 4 or 5 weeks to really, I think he's almost there. I literally think he's almost there. That's why I'm going to consider trading for him. He might be a trade of the week for me this week. I think he's very, very close. Okay. Let's give him a little bit of time, a little bit of grace, trying to learn that position in the NFL. But I liked what I saw from him personally. I'm not excited about him going forward if I have him. Right. TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle. I'm just going to name big names that disappointed. Travis Kelce, Tyler Higbee. All these guys disappointed, but the reality is you're going to start them again next week, right? I mean, that's just it is what it is. That's a tight end position.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. I mean, if you really look at someone like a Hawkinson or a George Kittle, Hawkinson was targeted 8 times, which is great. Kittle targeted 11 times, which is great. Once again, probably just playing great defenses, deflected the ball.
Kelce was only 6, but I mean, look, it's Travis Kelce. You should not be worrying about Travis Kelce.
Yeah, don't worry about Kelce. Maybe there's an opportunity, nudge that Kelce owner, but there's no way that Kelce owner should be giving him away.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, look, anything is possible, but you're right. Yeah. It shouldn't be happening. But crazier things have happened. Maybe reach out and see what you could get Kelce for. This is the tight end position. Nothing that happened this week is a surprise to me. Genuinely, the highs and the lows. That is the tight end position. Those are our cash and trash players of the week. We're now going to take about 10 minutes and answer some questions on YouTube. So if you guys have any questions, and Twitch, sorry, because we're live on Twitch and YouTube. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we're going to leave this in the podcast so people can hear what questions they might have the same ones. So let's start at the top. What do you think I can get Lenny for? Is it time to sell high? That's a good question, Badaki, because we watched that game and it's very clear they're not using Ronald Jones. It's the Lenny show.
Yeah, it's definitely the Lenny show, and it's also, I mean, let's really look into this in depth. 20 touches, 91 yards. It was because of the rain. Really?
Yeah, this game looked very different to a standard Bucks game that we have seen. So I'm not opposed to selling high at all on Leonard Fournette. Guys that I would want, if you can get a Cordell Patterson somehow, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm definitely willing to reach out and see if that's a possibility. Maybe you're probably not going to get Chase Edmonds. You know what's a really good buy low right now might be Josh Jacobs. If you can secure a trade for him before Monday Night Football, if he plays or not, I mean, if I can flip Leonard Fournette in a piece for Josh Jacobs, I'd be willing to take that risk.
Another guy that came to mind, I love the Josh Jacobs one, by the way. A guy that came to mind that's probably under the radar that maybe feels like a low ball is a Zach Moss. Has been really consistent on the ground.
Yeah, like a straight up 1-for-1.
Yeah, straight up 1-for-1. Really consistent on the ground. Has been averaging over 10 points a game so far. It's clear that he's being utilized. This offense
looks good.
Yeah, he does look good. He's found the end zone twice already. In the season. So I think they're utilizing him well. Why not?
Yeah. I don't mind that trade.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question we have. Do you think Herbert can get me 22 points tomorrow? I definitely think that's possible for sure. We'll see anything is a possibility at that point. Should I trade Mike Davis for Emmanuel Sanders?
Wow.
I think this really depends what your team construction looks like and what your needs are,
Yeah. Let me just check Emmanuel Sanders. I think this is somebody that we didn't talk about, Emmanuel Sanders.
I mean, he had a pedestrian week. It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't
13
amazing.
points. Five receptions for 74 yards. He was for 6 targets, obviously. 13 points is decent. Mike Davis.
I think I would still prefer Mike Davis. I know, I think he's more valuable. I think you can get more value than just Emmanuel Sanders for Mike Davis. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
And let's not throw Mike Davis out the window. Okay.
We don't love him, but
he's efficient in fantasy points. Every single week since week 1, over 10 plus fantasy points. The carries and the opportunity is there for him. The receptions is there for him. Obviously, I think that's being taken by Cordell Patterson. So,
hey, thanks so much for the follow over there on Twitch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a name that comes to mind, maybe if you're trying to move Mike Davis, you might be able to buy, I might take the risk on a Robert Woods. I know that sounds crazy, but I might take a risk there. I might take a risk on an Allen Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I might try and get a Mike Evans after probably what people would consider a down week. Those are names that I might potentially go after and just see what might bite. But Mike Davis is still a reliable 10 points, which isn't a bad thing to have either.
Yeah.
All right, next question. We're going to try and get to a couple more before we end the podcast. Am I trying to get A-Rob out of my roster for the next good game he has? Yes, I think I would be open to selling him high if there's a good game that comes up. Would you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think the next game is actually against, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, either Vegas. Yes, against Vegas. So I think this should be a good opportunity at Vegas. Going on the road, they have to score points. They have to. So
someone said up 8 heading into Monday Night Football. I got Kenyon Drake. Opponent has Eckler. Doesn't look good, brother.
That's shaky.
I wish you the best, but it doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Jones almost sold me. Reggie Air Products. What's up, my guy? I won my fantasy matchup this week with Chark getting hurt, Hines rarely playing, and Westbrook Ikini. I don't know how to say his name properly, but I know who he is. Only getting around 6 points. Got lucky with Knox. Oh, nice. That's a good pickup.
Great pickup.
And he also said, was this a good trade? I traded Austin Eckler and KJ Osborne for Antonio Gibson and Robert Woods. I got to be honest with you, man, because we always want to just be transparent on the channel. I would prefer the side of Austin Eckler and KJ Osborne.
I would prefer that as well. I think the PPR upside with Austin Eckler is just too valuable to kind of give up if you're in a PPR format.
Yeah. But I still love Gibson rest of the season. Robert Woods is not like a difference maker for me in trades right now, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm like, ooh, Austin Eckler, he's that difference maker for me. Jacobs might re-injure. He could. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
All right, last question we're going to answer before we end the podcast is from Taryn. What's up, my guy? He says, need wide receiver. Who can I get for James Robinson? It's a good question. I think you can actually sell James Robinson pretty high. I mean, there seems to be consistency. There seems to be volume. Could you sell James Robinson for Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley?
Oh, I think those are too high of valuable names.
You think so?
The first person that came to mind was Brandon Cooks. It may not sound appealing or amazing, but he's been consistent. He's been the only guy there. I think those other.
I'll say this: if you have to go that low, I wouldn't sell James Robinson then.
Mm-hmm. You think that's low?
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is low.
I think it's too low. I view Brandon Cooks around like the T. Higgins, Julio Jones.
I just don't think that James Robinson is more valuable.
I mean, it looks so good right now. I think you can sell him for more than that.
Okay.
Even Adam Thielen, maybe he just had a down game.
Yeah, I was gonna say
might try him.
A Thielen, a Lockett. You think of those guys?
Yeah, that might be good. But I still like James Robinson rest of the season.
Yeah, I know.
All right, last thing we'll talk about here is a question from Jason. The reason I'm panicking on Mike Davis is because Wayne Gallman looks pretty good. Yeah, he does. You're not wrong. Is this reasonable, or is Mike Davis still going to produce the same? I think Mike Davis is going to have up and down weeks. He's going to score 8 to 10 points on a weekly basis. It's nothing sexy for Mike. Yeah. So I'm definitely not opposed to selling him.
A perfect opportunity, I think, potentially. This could be far-fetched once again. If Monty is out, let's just say he's out 3 weeks on IR. See if you can trade Mike Davis for Monty, and if you're up in a great position, maybe you're winning. Let's say you're 4-0, 3-1, and you have another trade piece, and Monty can be that flex option for you because that person's probably panicking whether he has Monty, Damian Williams or not. So that could be something that you can potentially do. See what happens.
I think you really need to wait on the injury report first. Mm-hmm. You know, if that's an 8-week injury.
100%.
No, it's not worth it.
Yeah, if that's the case, don't go for it. Same thing with Joe Mixon. See how that feels.
I've actually heard great things from Joe's camp so far. Okay. So, I wouldn't be too worried about him, but that could change. That could totally change. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But last question, because I didn't see it over here on Twitch. 510. We're going to answer your question and hop off the podcast. He says, so honestly, I already won my fantasy matchup, but I could put in Carlson for the extra points. The thing is, I'm up 1 point. Do I risk him, worst case scenario, missing or getting hurt, or just sit him out? I'm trying to think. If not, getting the points now will hurt me getting a playoff spot later. So if you were up like 10 points, I would say just play him. You know, he can't miss 10 field goals, whatever it would take, right? Mm-hmm. But because you're only up 1 point, I'm sitting Carlson.
Yeah,
I'm not going to risk it.
Take him out. Don't stress about it. Take the W and strategize to win and get those points. Hypothetically, I mean,
prioritize the dub.
Yeah, prioritize the dub and get it, and then prioritize points later. See what you can do later on down the road.
Yeah, I agree. We will not be live tomorrow, but we will be live again for Thursday Night Football next week. We have to work our other jobs tomorrow, but guys, thanks so much for either listening to the podcast or joining us on the live stream.
Absolutely.
I hope whatever you need to happen here on Monday Night Football happens to win your matchup. I lost 8 of 9.
Let me tell you what I need. The Los Angeles Chargers to get more than 3 points on defense. Please. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, my goodness. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening on the podcast. We will see you on the next one. See you there.
See you there.